Hi everyone, Vladimir is here with our multi-platform game development tutorial. In our previous lesson we have implemented, the basic prototype. We can win the game and the enemy HP decreases when we pick the right bonus, but the game feels and looks bland. So to improve the looks and to improve the feeling of the game, we're going to polish it from now on. And one thing that I want to implement today is that the characters will be blinking after receiving damage, both player and enemy, to improve the feedback. And without further ado, let me get back to my tutorial desktop. So first things first, we need blink function both to the enemy and to our players. So those two classes are starting to look alike. So I think it's a good idea if we create a new class, which we will call character. And it will extend the sprite. And the thing is, both player and enemy are going to inherit from the character. We're doing a small refactoring. Instead of extending sprite, we're just going to extend the character for enemy, and same thing for player. And we both see that both player and enemy have the lives, so it's a good idea if we move those lives to our character sprite. And we need to put them into constructor. In our character, let's create a new constructor which we'll be calling public character, and we'll pass the lives, and lives are going to be assigned here. So we need to call the constructor of the character class inside of the player class. We're going to do this, we're just using this super, which we'll call the character constructor, and we pass the lives. Same thing with the enemy. We don't need to assign lives here anymore. We're just calling the super, and we pass the value default enemy lives. So this is that simple. And we both player and enemy have the getter for the lives. We're going to move the getter towards our character class, so get lives, and take damage function. This is important too. Where is it? Yeah. So we take the take damage function from both player and enemy and move it to our character, because in all cases the take damage basically acts the same way. So take damage, delete get lives from the player. In our character class, make the lives protected, because we need it for addition inside of the player class. That's what we need it for. And after that, let's just get towards the player and think, how can we implement the blinking stuff? I think since the both enemy and player are going to blink, we will need a variable. We will need to record when the damage has been taken, and if it has been taken only recently, we essentially do something like making the sprite more transparent. So to do this, we need to record the time of damage taken, make a private float variable inside of our character, and we will also need to calculate the time, how much time has this object has been alive. Time alive. Let's make an update function, which we will be calling from both player and enemy. Public void update float delta, which essentially adds delta to our time alive and calculates how much time has been this object alive. It's the same thing that we have with the warning effect, really. And after that, the player does not need an update function, but the enemy our enemy already has an update function. Let's just add the override directive just to remember that we are overriding something from the parent class. And besides that, let's call the parent class's update function. So this will record the time, the total time when the object has been alive. We also need to, initialize those variables. Time alive equals 0, and time of damage taken, let's set it to -1. This is to indicate that we have not yet taken damage. Otherwise the game will think, oh, we have taken the damage at the 0th second and we have been alive for 0 seconds, so our character is probably damaged, and we don't want that. So I'm setting it to -1. We need to determine how much time do we want our sprite to blink. I've came to the empirical value, which I found comfortable, a quarter of a second, 0.25 seconds. So let's make a constant and call it blink time after DMG, like blink time after damage, and assign it to 0.25. After that, we need to make sure that we record when the damage has been taken. And the best way to do this is in our take damage function. We just say that the time of damage taken is time alive, which is the current time of, well, seconds, how many seconds the object has been alive. After that, we need to make sure that the player is also updated, because, we're calling the enemy update function inside of the game logic, but we're not doing anything with the player. So we need to add the call of the player update inside of the game logic update function. Hopefully you understand why, but if there's questions, you can always ask them. After that, we need to address how the enemy and player are drawn. The thing is, we want the draw functions are different, but if the player is damaged and enemy is damaged, it's the same part of the drawing. We want to make them both transparent. So I suggest we add some kind of pre-draw and post-draw functions. Don't define them yet, just add them in the draw, pre-draw and post-draw. And we'll define those two functions inside our character class. Let's make it public. Public void pre-draw and public void post-draw. So the pre-draw function will set the transparency of the player sprite or of the enemy sprite. So if we have recently taken the damage, the sprite is going to be transparent and it will be gradually reappearing. The thing is, we don't want it to reappear linearly. We want to make it a bit prettier, so it's less visible at the start and then it suddenly goes a bit more visible. I think we need the easing functions, like quadratic easing. I'm going to give links describing them below, but the overall idea is that we just say if time alive is lesser than the time of damage taken, blink time after damage. So if we are blinking at the moment, this is essentially what this part says, we need to calculate how transparent the sprite should be. So I'm making the variable t, which we take the time alive minus time of damage taken divided by blink time after damage. This value is from 0 to 1. After that, we multiply the value with itself. This will smoothen the value. Let me explain. This thing, if we have recently taken the damage, maybe 0.1 seconds ago, we don't want it to be, we still want it to be transparent. So 0.1, 0.1, we're going to get 0.01 transparency. which is much greater if we had simply left 0.1 without multiplying. So yeah, the idea is that when our character is transparent, it reappears gradually. And we need to set color of our sprite to our transparency value. You see that we're passing the red, green, blue values for the sprite remain the same, but the transparency goes to our T value. And after that, after we're done drawing, it's a good idea to return everything back of the initial value. So I think this should be it, unless I've left something out. Let me see if I can launch the game and check what's going on. It's compiling. The best excuse, it's compiling. Why are you not programming? Because it's compiling. Okay, let's see. Let's try to get damaged first. See? When we take damage, our player disappears and reappears gradually. It might not be seen very well at first, but if you want to experiment, increase the value of how long is the player blinking from 0.25 to some other value, I don't know, to 10 seconds, just to see how it goes. And you see the same thing is happening with the spider. We take the bonus and the spider gets damage and it is blinking. So this improves the overall feedback because the player gets another visual channel to see what's going on, and if he gets damaged, he can notice it much easier. So the final thing left to do is to commit the changes. Lesson 13. Character blinking on damage. And I push the changes. So yeah, that's it. This sets the tone of what I'm going to do in the stage 2 of the game development. Basically adding some effects and making it a bit more prettier, maybe adding more, definitely adding more buttons to add like replay function and so on. So the stage 2 of the game development goes to polishing and making the game much more pleasant for the user. So that concludes lesson 13 of the multi-platform game development. Thank you for watching and see you guys next time. Vladimir is out. Bye.